Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode. I'm in Nyari Estate, one of the richest estates in Nairobi City. But this is a shadow. I want to take you to the richest, now the real rich, home to the old money, Kitisuru Estate. The estate is just around the corner. Expect to see some of the most beautiful mansions in Africa. And remember, Kitisuru is not just your ordinary neighborhood. For instance, 79% of the total population have university degrees. Well, I don't know what is the percentage in your neighborhood. Of course, we'll be doing some comparisons, but I'm sure that must be among the highest in the continent. Another fun fact before we get to the estate, 80% of the total population here in Kitisuru are aged above 30 years. Well, I don't know how you will interpret that, but to me that's a sign of old money. And the fact that only 20% are aged 30 and below, it tells you that the youngs are not making it to the rich neighborhoods. We will talk more about that as we drive around the rich neighborhood. We also check other numbers, especially on the population. I'm somewhere outside Kitisuru Estate, and this road goes all the way to a village called Gathiga, a very tiny and beautiful one. Shout out to Bishop Mankush. You can see some new developments at a distance. So this is to Gathiga village. I thought I told you. In fact, I did a video about that small village sometimes back. But that is not the case for now. I want to zoom and show you something. I hope you can see some hidden mansions up there. And the place is a bit forested. That's why they are called Leafy Suburbs. That is Kitisuru Estate for you. Anyways, enough with the talking. I think I have stretched my legs enough. So let's meet in the neighborhood in a few seconds. So I want to hit the estate from this direction. And for those who knows the area, this is Kirawa Road. And traditionally this was not part of the estate. But currently it has been expanding this way. So for the new money, you can see empty spaces around. And you just need a couple of millions in a sack. I'll be telling you how much later in the video. But you can see the place is faring quite well. Actually, this is a school. A private one, of course. But a few decades ago, this used to be a coffee plantation. There is also another school next to this one, the International School of Kenya, which is one of the most expensive schools in East and Central Africa. It was designed to cater for expatriate children, those individuals working in the United Nations offices. Remember, they are not far from here. That is UNEP, one of the few branches of the United Nations organization, and the only one in Africa. So the school entrance is on my left. I don't want to take a video because I can see it is heavily guarded. And of course, I'm not looking for some trouble. But this high fence on my left belongs to the school. And so you can imagine what kind of a school it is. A rich school. Not a polling station, of course. Probably 80% of the students are white. But of course, that was expected. This is a rich neighborhood. And not only a rich neighborhood, but an old money kind of neighborhood. But before I get deeper into the estate, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to our YouTube channel officially. That is Village to Town TV, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. So thank you for the continued support. We appreciate that. We are growing crazy numbers. And in case you have not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. It is absolutely free, but means the world to us. Well, back to the video. And I'm sure you have seen some beautiful fences on my left. You just don't want to imagine the kind of mansions that are inside. Just blame it on the fencing culture of Kenya. The richer the guy, the higher the fences. And also the vice versa is true. I also want you to take note of the oncoming traffic. Yes, these vehicles on my right. I don't know whether you have noted that most of them have red number plates. That in Kenya means that the car belongs to a diplomat, either working for the United Nations or an embassy. Remember, there is a lot of embassies here in Kitisuru and the surrounding neighborhoods. And so I'm sure you are now starting to understand what kind of a neighborhood is Kitisuru. Well, I don't know the exact name of this tree, but I think it is a form of a palm tree. I don't know whether you have noted them on my left, but from the look of things, it seems like the rich loves them. It is the most dominant tree here. You can see them lining up on my left. Or are they flowers? So what's the difference between a flower and a tree? You will forgive me on that. I'm not a botanical expert. But please kindly feel free to tell us on the comment section the name of this plant and why the rich seems to love it and why the poor apparently don't love it. There is also a Catholic church here on my left. Remember, on my right, the land is bare. That's why I'm not showing you anything. A great opportunity for the upcoming millionaires, billionaires, and real estate developers. At least there's a room for you in Kitisuru Estate. So the road on my left goes to Gashie. If I continue straight, I'll go to Westlands. But I choose right to the old Kitisuru Estate. So apparently this is still in Nairobi County. But I'll be turning left to get deeper into Kitisuru Estate. But if I had continued that way, there's a very interesting village in about 5 to 6 kilometers from here called Mwimuto. I have done a video on that. You can check it later. It is on this channel. And past that village, you have Wangige town. So the two are in Kiambu County. That is Mwimuto and Wangige, while Kitisuru is in Nairobi. And so the border is just around the corner. I hope you are enjoying the beautiful estate and the tranquility that comes with it. It seems the rich have a taste for the finer things in life. So I want to give you some interesting numbers, especially on the population. And before I outline them, it is good to note that there is a Kitisuru Estate and there is a ward that goes by the same name. So the main difference between the two is that the ward is a bit bigger and it is made up of 3 estates, all rich neighborhoods, and they include Kitisuru, Loresho, and Kuna. But in this case, I'll be giving you the numbers for Kitisuru Estate, which is just a portion of the ward. So apparently the entire estate has a total population of 6,587. That's according to the Kenyan Bureau of Statistics. And it must be among the least populated neighborhoods in Nairobi City. Well, I never expected such a low number. But remember, the rich love exclusivity. In terms of the landmass, there is a bit big. It measures around 8.5 kilometers squared. That is Kitisuru Estate. And in terms of the population density, there are 775 people living in a square kilometer. But that is not the interesting part about the numbers. There is more, especially in gender distribution. Apparently, the neighborhood is males dominated, as 53.8% are males, while 46.2% are females. There is a very interesting pattern we are getting from the numbers. And remember, men and women lies, but numbers don't. So if you are a regular viewer of this channel, I'm sure you have noted that when we visited some poor neighborhoods, such as Kangemi and Kawangware, and please don't misquote me, I'm just comparing the neighborhoods, just giving references. We realized that the majority of the people living in those neighborhoods were males. On the other hand, when we visited some middle-class estates, such as Buruburu, there was another one also in Eastlands, that is Donholm and Umoja, we noted that the number of women was very high, and the men there were super minority as far as the numbers are concerned. And now we are in rich neighborhood, and the number of men is higher. Like for instance, in this case of Kitisuru, the difference between the two genders is more than 7.5% in favor of men, a number that statisticians cannot ignore. Another interesting numbers about Kitisuru Estate is on the level of education attained. Well, before getting here, I was going through a research document done by a university student concentrating on Kitisuru Estate. It was probably a thesis submitted in Nairobi University. And one interesting thing I captured from the thesis is that 71% of the total population in Kitisuru have university degrees and above. That means that in every 10 people you meet, 7 of them have either university degrees, a master's, a PhD, or they are even professors. The remaining 29% had college diplomas. So the research was conducted in 2015, about 10 years ago, of course involving people aged 24 and above, and I'm sure the numbers have improved of late. Well, I don't know whether you are getting the true essence of having 71% of the total population having university degrees. So let me give you the country's projection so that you can get the real picture. So in 2019, according to the Kenyan Bureau of Statistics, the percentage of Kenyans with a university degrees as their highest educational level was 3.5%. And Kitisuru, 71%. Additionally, 7% of the total population had completed middle level or technical training after secondary school. That is still in Kenya. And about 14% of East African population aged 15 and 29 had an upper secondary or tertiary education in 2020. That means that in East Africa, only 14% have post-secondary school education. But in Kitisuru, 100%. Well, let me give you the last piece of statistics about Kitisuru. That is before I start boring you with the numbers. Sometimes I get carried away by statistics. You know, sometimes if you to look numbers keenly, they will tell you a story that nobody will. And this is on age distribution. So apparently, 80% of the total population are aged 30 and above, while only 20% are aged 30 and below. That means that the area is controlled by the old-timers, which is not surprising. There's a tendency in Africa for wealth to be in the hand of the few, and most of these few are old-timers. You can imagine that only 20% are aged 30 and below. And remember, in this 20%, there's a good number that is still living under their parents' roof. There is another interesting number. The last one, I promise. 38% of the residents here in Kitisuru have been living in this estate for more than 15 years. It is also good to know that Kitisuru is located approximately 9.5 kilometers from Nairobi CBD, or 5.9 miles, meaning that the city is just around the corner. And Kitisuru is in Westlands constituency, which is one of the 7 constituencies in Nairobi city. Another fun fact we should learn about this neighborhood is on the etymology of the name Kitisuru. So apparently the name Kitisuru comes from the nearby river Kitisuru. I don't know whether I have pronounced it correctly, Gitaduro or Gitaduru. Maybe those who are quite familiar with the old Kikuyu language can help me. So the original name of the river was borrowed from the original inhabitants of the area, who are mainly of the Kikuyu ethnic group. I want to quickly check at the real estate segment. I think I'm inspired by that beautiful mansion I just saw there. And apparently, to purchase any property here in Kitisuru Estate, you'll need at least 50 million Kenya shillings. That's about 500,000 US dollars. And I remember I told you that this is one of the most expensive estates in East Africa. So on average, to get a 4-bedroom villa in this estate, you'll need about 135 million Kenya shillings, which is about $1 million. You can also rent some of these villas. They are quite expensive, but there are very few apartments in the area. You can see some nice houses are being developed on my left. The real estate in this area must be in a very high demand. I saw another scientific study on the area, and it was saying that 40% of the residents here live in their own houses, while 33% were tenants, meaning they were renting. That is the case with most expatriates, while the remaining 27% were leasing properties. I think that is enough for today, so let me leave it at that. But please continue watching the scenic video until the end. Thank you so much for accompanying Mr. Lone Traveler in Kitisuru Estate, and I hope you have learned something about the rich neighborhood in Kenya. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Village to Town TV, which is a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. Also like the video so that it can be recommended to as many people as possible, and smash the notification bell so that every time we post, you will be among the first few people to be notified. You can also check out our sister channel, Kikuyu Traveling Media, especially if you understand the Kikuyu language. Also, a special shout out to Team Village to Town TV, those who watch, like, and comment in almost every video. And for today, let the group be represented by the African girl. She was the first to comment on my videos ever, some 2 years ago. So shout out to you. The old timers remembers. Thank you.